What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing part 2, the follow-up video to part 1 of January's PC of the month, which is the beautiful system that I have right next to me. It's already booted up, you can see the BIOS behind me on the screen, everything's working properly, and today we're going to be putting it through the ringer. So if you didn't catch part 1 where I assemble the rig, you can check that out, but this is where we actually put it to the test and test everything from thermals, acoustics, gaming performance, and overclocking. The whole shebang, so to speak. So should be interesting to find out exactly what this machine is capable of, because we've got some pretty robust hardware in here, including a Core i7-7700K and a GTX 1080 from EVGA, their hybrid variant, featuring an AIO liquid cooler on there. And really quick, I wanted to point out that it's been 2 or 3 weeks since I put this system together, and just from an aesthetic standpoint, I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. I think it looks great. I appreciate the fact that it's not lined with RGB LEDs for once, and it has this really subdued appearance, yet still comes off super aggressive. So I really like it, and I think overall, there's probably not a single thing that I would change about this system from a cosmetic standpoint. I mean, apart from the fractal Venturi fan not really matching the Corsair fans, but that's like a little thing. I mean, you guys don't care. I don't care, you know. And the Venturis are great fans. They cool well, they're quiet, they look nice, and who cares if there's a glaring break in visual continuity? Okay, you know, it looks hideous. I can't do this. Oh, so much better. Okay, we can continue now. And also, you might have noticed that I did change the LED on the motherboard from orange to white through the Asus Aura software. So now we're looking super cohesive, everything's looking good, and we may now move forward. So, the first thing I want to talk about, since we just swapped a fan out, let's talk about fans and what I did with those. So, we have 7 fans in total, 4 of which are on the X62 radiator. So these 2 right here, the ML Pros, should have been detected in the cam software because they're directly connected to the AIO water block. However, I did not see them in cam. This could be a bug. So these are just kind of left in the hands of NZXT. Whatever default configuration or profile that these fans run in out of the box, that's what we're running today. The other 2 fans, which are underneath the front panel of the Enthoo Pro M here that you can't see, those, as well as these 2 and the radiator fan on our GTX 1080 AIO, those are all configured with custom fan curves that I've set myself within Thermal Radar 2, which is a part of AI Suite 3, the very lovely app from Asus. So those are all configured, and I kind of tailored them for a nice balance between performance and acoustics. I didn't want to sway one way or the other too far, so I kept it very balanced and neutral. So with the fans all handled, I decided to jump into the BIOS and start overclocking our 7700K. I put a multiplier of 50, which gave us, of course, 5 gigahertz, and we were able to hit that stably at 1.375 volts, which falls in line with a lot of the other review websites out there. I also overclocked our GPU, of course. The GTX 1080 was able to hit 2063 megahertz, I believe, at its max core clock frequency, once I dialed in a 110 megahertz offset on the core clock and a 300 megahertz offset on the memory clock. And after I put an extensive load on it for a lengthier period of time, we did see the core clock frequency drop down to 2050 megahertz, but it was still very stable that entire time. There were no dips whatsoever, so that was all nice and dandy. As far as thermals are concerned, the way I tested that was in my room of 26 degrees Celsius ambient, and that was constant throughout the test, and we ran GTA 5. Initially, I was going to do Unigine Heaven 4.0, but I just figured that was a bit too GPU intensive and it didn't really tax the CPU quite enough, and I didn't feel like it was going to give us a really good representation of what a real-world result would be for the average gamer. So I jumped into GTA 5 at 4K for about I'd say about half an hour. I did about half an hour run, not the pre-run benchmark, I just started playing the game. So after half an hour run, we actually saw the CPU hit 76 degrees Celsius at the max on its package, which is honestly fine by me. If we're in the mid 70s after overclocking a 7700K to 5 gigahertz in a very CPU demanding game like GTA 5, then that rests well with me. As for our GPU, we had a max temperature of 65 degrees Celsius, which is again very reasonable, all things considered. When you're talking about an overclocked $600 graphics card pushing this many pixels, is very impressive. And I've had some experience with liquid-cooled AIO GPUs in the past, which have been sort of lackluster, to be honest. So I wasn't really sure what to expect with the EVGA hybrid here, but I can definitely tell you it is very efficient effective if you spend the time to create a custom fan curve for the one fan that's on there. You can get really great results. So as most of you guys know, GTA 5 can be a total memory hog when it comes to 4K gaming, especially if you have all of the settings cranked up and the filters turned on and things like that. And sure enough, we saw over 6 gigs of VRAM being eaten up. But what's even crazier is that throughout my entire benchmark runs, not just GTA 5, but all the benchmarks that I run for these tests, we saw nearly all 8 gigs of GDDR5X being used on this card, which is absolutely insane. It's the most VRAM usage that I've ever seen personally in this office of mine. And I'm not exactly sure which test did that. Obviously, it was something running at 4K and not at a lower resolution in order to be pushing that much. But I wasn't going to go ahead and like run all 7 benchmarks again just to see which one it was. But I think that's pretty crazy. Hopefully we'll see some 16 gigabyte cards in the near future with the next generation of GPUs from NVIDIA and AMD, because it looks like we need it if we're going to be gaming at these resolutions and with all those filters turned on. Now, before we dive into the gaming benchmarks, I wanted to quickly touch on acoustics here because they are solid, very solid acoustics. Honestly, this system has a nice trifecta of raw gaming performance, cooling performance, and noise levels. I think there's a nice balance where none of those elements seems to fall too short of the others, which is really nice to see. And I think it's also a testament to the ML Pro fans that we have in here from Corsair, doing a great job keeping things cool but also quiet. So on that note, I'll go ahead and let you guys hear for yourself with a quick sound test. Alright, now the moment you've all been waiting for. Gaming benchmarks. Of course, tested on Windows 10 64-bit, as well as the latest WCL driver from NVIDIA, which is 378.66. In total, I ran 7 different applications, 5 of which were AAA games, and those were run at 1440p as well as 4K. I threw out 1080p altogether because, honestly, if you have a system like this, you should not be gaming at 1920 by 1080. I'm sorry, it's just a slap in the face, and you shouldn't do it. It's bad. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, here are the benchmarks for January's PC of the month. Alright, y'all, so there you have the results. Very impressive numbers all around. And to be honest, the GTX 1080 here doesn't really handle 4K all that well when you're dealing with AAA titles that are fully maxed out with MSAA enabled. We didn't quite hit the 60 FPS average threshold that we would have liked to in many of the games. Only Doom and Overwatch were able to achieve that, Overwatch being a less demanding title to begin with. However, once we dialed down to 1440p, this thing absolutely kicks ass with very favorable frame rates, doing well above 60 in many cases. So if you have something like a G-Sync monitor that's 1440p, and that G-Sync range is anywhere from 60 to 75 hertz, 100 hertz, you're going to get a very, very nice gameplay experience with a system like this for sure. We did see a bit of CPU bottlenecking, however, in Overwatch. Actually, there was only a few frames difference in our average frame rates going from 1440p to 4K, which meant the game is just so non-intensive that the GPU is able to render frames quicker than the CPU can actually write instructions for them. So that was pretty much expected. Overwatch does tend to see some CPU bottlenecking because it is so well optimized for the graphics card that sometimes the CPU just can't keep up. But overall, just outstanding results, and you guys can let me know what you think about them in the comments below. But that's gonna wrap it up for this video, guys. Be sure to toss me a like on it if you enjoyed it, and if you want to catch videos like this on the early side, you can sign up as a Bitwit Ultra member, which is the new paid channel that I just created. For $1.50 a month, you get early access as well as no ads. So go ahead and check that out if you haven't. It's a pretty cool deal and a great way to support the channel while also getting something in return for yourself. But that's gonna do it for now, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.